Cars are something that you can see basically anywhere. You can see them on roads, inside buildings, in front of houses, and so on. This is no exception for movies, which do feature cars, sometimes in major roles even. Today, we'll be talking about the cars that you can see in movies. And even if this topic may seem a little bit monotonous, there are many diverse examples of cars in movies, and therefore this is a surprisingly interesting subject. I guess this video is also for mentioning some of my interests outside of motor vehicles. With all that said, this is AutoFil, and I hope you enjoyed this video. When talking about automobiles in movies, the James Bond movies immediately come to mind. The franchise's titular spy uses a different car in most movies. And when I say most movies, I mean that not every film with Agent 007 has a car in a starring role. The first movie in which Bond has a car is Goldfinger, released all the way back in 1964. In this film, James Bond, played by Sean Connery, drives a modified Aston Martin DB5, enhanced thanks to the addition of a range of gadgets. 2 DB5s were used for filming, one of which had no gadgets. Meanwhile, another 2 DB5s were used for promoting the film. Keep in mind that this was before the British Grand Tourer actually began production, so all 4 cars were actually prototypes. Now then, when it comes to the future of these Astons, the gadget-fitted DB5 was sold from owner to owner, getting used in the 1981 action comedy film The Cannonball Run along the way. In 2011, the car was stolen from its last owner in Florida and has been lost since then. The other DB5 used for filming was fitted with gadgets after filming and used for promotion. In 2010, it was sold at auction for a whopping $4.6 million. Moving on, the latter 2 Astons were both acquired by museums. With that said, the Aston Martin DB5 is by many considered the most iconic out of all of Bond's various vehicles. That doesn't mean that the others aren't interesting though. There's obviously the Lotus Esprit from 1976's The Spy Who Loved Me, nicknamed Wet Nelly behind the scenes. It's known for its ability to transform into a submarine. Wet Nelly is currently owned by Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla, who aims to rebuild it and make it a fully functional auto-submarine hybrid thingy. Another one of Bond's cars is the blue BMW Z3 seen in GoldenEye. As with the MI6 agent's other cars, this German roadster is fitted with a variety of gadgets. To coincide with the film's release, BMW even made a limited James Bond edition of the Z3 with a blue colour scheme and chrome exterior trim corresponding to the Z3 from the film. Only 100 of these were made, so James Bond edition Z3s are collector's items nowadays. Moving on, we also have the Aston Martin Vanquish seen in Die Another Day, as well as the Rolls-Royce Phantom 3 from Goldfinger. Another interesting one is the Aston Martin DB10 seen in Spectre. This ultra-exclusive Grand Tourer only had 10 examples sold, 8 of which were made for the movie. The same movie features the Jaguar CX-75, a prototype of an electric supercar. 7 prototypes were made for Spectre, and a limited production of the CX-75 was planned, but was cancelled because of the Great Recession. When it comes to the latest James Bond movie, No Time to Die, Bond drives a boring old Land Rover Defender. Nothing interesting to see here. That's really all there is to say about the vehicles of Agent 007. Let's move on. With the James Bond series out of the way, the next movie franchise that comes to mind is the Fast and Furious series. It's obvious, isn't it? It's a franchise that revolves around spies, heists, and most importantly for this video, street racing. The most iconic car from the series has to be Brian O'Connor's Nissan Skyline GTR, driven by him in Too Fast, Too Furious. In this film, Brian uses it in street racing, out of which he makes a living while hiding in Miami. The Skyline was a car unavailable to people in the West, and thanks to this movie, the Japanese coupe became a popular grey import vehicle. Outside of that, the fourth film also features a Nissan Skyline, this time a blue one, as opposed to the silver one with blue stripes from the second movie. This Skyline isn't as iconic as the other one, but regardless, it is still one of the most recognizable vehicles from the Fast franchise. In fact, the Skyline from the fourth movie was sold at auction in Belgium 2 years ago for nearly $2 million. When it comes to some other cars, Brian drove a Mitsubishi Lancer Evo in the second movie as part of his undercover mission, and in his last appearance in Furious 7, drives a 1998 Toyota Supra. Now it's not like only Brian had the cars, there's also Dominic Toretto, played by Vin Diesel, who in 5 of the Fast and Furious films drives a black 1970 Dodge Charger RT, formerly owned by the character's late father. He initially totals it in the first movie, but the Charger returns in the fourth movie completely rebuilt. It also shows up in Furious 7 and briefly in F9. Other cars driven by Dom in the movies include a Buick GNX in the fourth movie, a Dodge Charger SRT8 in Fast 5, and a Plymouth Roadrunner in Furious 7. Other than that, there's really not much else to say about cars from the Fast and Furious franchise. It's time to get to our next movies then. Next, I feel like we should talk about another movie franchise with cars in starring roles, that obviously being the Transformers movie series. It prominently features many iconic cars that the Autobots and Decepticons take the form of. The most well-known car from the series, at least in my opinion, is the 2007 Chevrolet Camaro Concept, which is the vehicle form of Bumblebee. Now sure, Bumblebee initially takes the form of a dilapidated 1977 Camaro at the start of the first movie, but the yellow Autobot takes the form of a 2007 Concept until the third movie, Dark of the Moon, in which he changed his car form to an amber 2011 Camaro SS. In Age of Extinction, he becomes a 1967 Camaro, while in his own spin-off movie, he takes the form of a yellow VW Beetle. In Rise of the Beasts, on the other hand, he again takes the form of a 1970s Camaro. What about Optimus Prime then? Well, in most of the movies, he takes the form of a long-nosed, Peterbilt 379 semi-truck with red and blue paint. This isn't the only truck Optimus Prime becomes, however, as in Bumblebee for example, he turns into a Freightliner FLA, while in Age of Extinction, he takes the form of a Western Star 5700. Now, even though Bumblebee and Optimus Prime are essentially the most well-known Transformers, there are also others like Jazz from the first movie, who transforms into a silver Pontiac Solstice. There's also Ironhide, who transforms into a black GMC Top Kick, and Ratchet, who turns into a search and rescue Hummer H2. We also have Sideswipe, whose vehicle mode is a Chevy Corvette Stingray Concept, Skids, who transforms into a Chevy Beat Concept, and Mudflap, who transforms into a Chevy Trax Concept. The Autobots don't just transform into regular cars and trucks however. We have the Autobot triplets, RC, Chromia and Elisa 1. The sisters transform into a pink Ducati 848, a blue Suzuki B-King, and a purple MV Agusta F4 respectively, each being motorcycles. And yeah, even though there are many more Transformers characters, I reckon that these should be enough. With that, let's get to the next part of the video. Next up, I think that we should do a lightning round of cars starring in movies. Basically, I'll be quickly listing some cars, although not too quickly. Okay, let's start in 3, 2, 1. In the Men in Black movies, the protagonists use multiple cars to get from one place to another. These include a 1986 Ford LTD Crown Victoria in the first movie, a 2002 Mercedes E500 in the second movie, a 1964 Ford Galaxy 500 in the first movie, and a 1986 Jaguar Sovereign Series 3 in the Just OK fourth film. In the Back to the Future trilogy, Doc Brown and Marty travel through time in a time machine based on the DMC DeLorean. This American coupe was made famous by these films, and some of the DeLoreans used for filming now sit in museums. In the Beverly Hills Cop movies, Axel Foley drives several different cars. These include a 1970 Chevrolet Nova in the first film, a Ferrari 328 GTS in the second, a 1991 Dodge Stealth briefly in the third, and finally a 1982 Ford Bronco in the fourth movie. In the 2019 movie Ford vs Ferrari, that follows the events of Le Mans 1966, Ken Miles, played by Christian Bale, drives a Ford GT40 Mark II at the race. Other cars seen in starring roles here include a Ferrari 330 P3, a Shelby Cobra 289, and a replica of a Ford GT40 prototype. In the 2016 film Monster Trucks, our protagonist Trip drives a 1955 Dodge C3 monster truck, inhabited by a literal octopus-like, quote, monster. In the second X-Men movie, released in 2003, a scene depicts Logan, played by Hugh Jackman, driving a Mazda RX-8 with Rogue, Iceman and Pyro by his side after the expansion gets raided. Keep in mind that this was in 2003, before the RX-8 had even entered production, and judging by this RX-8's appearance, it's safe to say that this is a pre-release prototype. Just a little fact for you. In the 2000 movie Gone in 60 Seconds, the main protagonist, played by Nicolas Cage, drives a 1967 Mustang that he nicknames Eleanor. One of the Eleanors used for filming once sold at auction for a whopping $1 million. Speed, released in 1994, revolves around a, speeding bus that is rigged by an extortionist to explode if its speed drops to less than 50 miles an hour. The bus I just mentioned happens to be a 1966 GMC New Look bus, with 11 of them used for filming. One was auctioned in 2018 for over $100,000. In the 2003 remake of The Italian Job, 3 2003 Mini Coopers are used to enact a heist. They're mainly used in the film's climax, and one of the Minis used for filming was even fitted with an electric motor in order to film in LA's subway tunnels, where gasoline-powered vehicles were prohibited. The Rush Hour movie franchise is also a series that features many cars used by protagonists. In the first film, for example, Carter and Lee drive a 1971 Chevy Corvette Stingray, a car that is also used in the second movie. When it comes to the third movie, the duo uses a 2007 Mercedes SL55 AMG. Apparently, according to an article on the Corvette blogger website, the Corvette used in the first movie was put on sale on eBay in 2006, with the dash having been signed by both Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan. In Dumb and Dumber, the protagonists, Harry and Lloyd, drive the iconic Mutts Cuts van, which is actually a 1984 Ford Econoline coated in fur to make it look like a dog. A replica of the van was up for grabs at auction back in 2023, but I'm not sure for how much it was sold. In the John Wick movies, the titular hero, primarily drives a 1969 Ford Mustang Mach 1. This isn't the only vehicle he uses in the series though, as there's also a 1995 Range Rover 2.5 DSC in Chapter 3 and a 1971 Plymouth Barracuda in Chapter 4. In the Iron Man movies, as well as Avengers Age of Ultron, Tony Stark drives an Audi R8, which is partly what made the German coupe so famous. Keep in mind that Tony doesn't drive the same R8 in every movie. Sometimes it has a different colour, or is a cabriolet, or is the electric e-tron variant. I reckon that should be enough about cars featured in feature films. If I forgot to mention any, please let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching today's video, I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to like and subscribe. Also, sorry for the wait. I was a little bit busy last week and I also got sick, which caused this video to take so long to be made. Also, special thanks to the Internet Movie Car Database, or the IMCDB for short. It is a website on which you can find cars that were featured in movies, and I did some research for this video on there, and without it, I don't think this video would have come into fruition. Again, thank you so much to the people contributing to the IMCDB. With that said, if you have any suggestions for an upcoming video, feel free to share them in the comments down below. This is AutoFil, and I hope you enjoyed this video.